From cattle and cotton to rodeos and Western heritage, Texas Commissioner of Ag, Sid Miller, knows it all. And he wants to share why Texas agriculture matters and how it plays a part in your daily life. Thanks for joining me today, Commissioner.
It's good to be with you. Thank you.
Well, welcome to Rural America Live, here from our studio in the Fort Worth Stockyards of Texas. I'm Kirby Schnorr, and joining me tonight is none other than the Texas Commissioner of Agriculture, Sid Miller. So let's just dive right into it, Commissioner.
All right.
Tell us about your background and why agriculture is so important to you.
Okay, well, I'm a 8th generation farmer and rancher. I grew up in Comanche County, which is in central Texas on Flat Creek, where I learned to, hunt squirrels, and we had coon dogs, and I learned to hunt and fish on Flat Creek. And matter of fact, that's where I learned to swim. My dad and older brother took me down to the Blue Hole, which is a real deep hole, one day, and just threw me in. And actually, learning to swim was the easy part. Getting out of the tow sack was the hardest part.
So agriculture, it's in your blood.
Sure.
It's what you know, and it's what you breathe, eat, and love.
Yeah.
So tell us all about what it is being a part of the agriculture in the state of Texas.
Well, it's I like to say that, now I stole this from a friend, but Texas is the last best place. And Texas is a special place. We have that certain heritage, a Western lifestyle. We have a certain family value. Some people would say we even have a little swagger, when we walk. And they even say we're braggadocious, but we don't say we have a swagger. We just say that's the way we walk, and it's not bragging if it's true, right? So that's what Texas is. Has its own mystique, and we're fiercely independent individuals. We like our freedom, like the United States. We fought for our independence and won against extremely large odds. So that's kind of what all that Texas embodies a Texan.
Everything that embodies a Texan is something to be proud of as well. Yeah. What are some of the biggest initiatives you've started since taking office, and kind of what was the driving force to becoming commissioner?
Well, I've actually served as an ag commissioner, and after that I served on the school board, and then I ran for the state house, served in the legislature 12 years, and I was actually out of office and back running my farm and ranch and doing good, and was actually recruited to come back and run for this office. So it's been a good experience. We've retooled the agency and made it a lot more efficient. We've inherited a school lunch program. I'm responsible for 5 million school meals each day, and quite frankly, the school cafeterias were in pretty bad shape. Instead of having healthy kids, we had healthy trash cans. So we've reinvented that whole thing, and now we were buying zero local products from our farmers and ranchers. So we've come up with a program where we've connected the local community, the local farmers and ranchers with our cafeterias, and last year our Texas schools bought $60 million worth of local products. So we call that a twofer. It's a double win for our farmers, increased markets. And our children now are getting fresh products, which they like to eat. No added salt, no preservatives, no dyes, never flash frozen. A lot of it's even organic, so that's been good. We've we were the Consumer Protection Agency for the state, so we've had to retool some of that. I'm responsible for 400,000 fuel pumps in the state, so it was taking us 10 years to inspect those. We've got that down to every 12 months, and we've added a skimmer protection program where we're looking out for consumers and helping prevent fraud and identity theft at the fuel pump. We run the Office of Rural Health Care for 191 counties. We have a bank where we help young farmers get started and finance agriculture operations. We run the export facility. We've got a lot to do, and we've changed a lot of that and made the agency a lot more efficient.
Well, I know some of the things you touched on will go more in depth later in the show on, but what are some of the plans that you really do have for the next 3 years for the state of Texas for agriculture?
Well, we want to expand on our consumer protection programs and expand on our skimmer program. We provide border security for the state, not in the traditional sense, but it's actually biosecurity, where we pull trucks over and inspect them for invasive species or pest or pestilence. So we need to probably do a better job of that and expand and do more of that. I'm going to My plan is to privatize even more of the agency and let the private sector do what the government has been doing, and shrink our overall footprint of government. We got a lot of things that we can improve. We're going to focus a little bit more on the shrimp and oyster industry in Texas, and see if we can prop it up. Those have been struggling a little bit. I think we can help them out with our marketing program. We want to expand our international marketing program. We have an office in Argentina, but I have plans to see if we can possibly open one in Shanghai or Beijing, and then probably another one in the Middle East. So we've got a pretty big plate. I'm not through yet.
Yeah.
We haven't
Sounds
finished.
like you're gonna be quite busy.
Yeah, we've got a lot to do. We operate 5 livestock export facilities, and those facilities are all 30 years old or older. So we're building a couple of new ones, and one in Del Rio, one at the airport in Houston. We still have a lot of projects going.
Got a lot of projects going. One of the projects, though, I know that we're working on together is your new show that we have coming to RFD TV January 2020 called Texas Agriculture Matters. Yeah. Tell us about that.
Well, when I became commissioner, it was just like, well, why should I care who the farm boss is? I don't care anything about the agriculture department. Well, I said, we've got to re-educate people. They have forgotten where their food comes from. So our new slogan is Texas Agriculture Matters. So we have ambassadors that go around the state explaining that. We provide gardening kits to the schools so the young kids can, get a little taste of agriculture and get some dirt under their fingernails, and grow their own vegetables. And, I've implemented a daily market report, and then another market report that goes out. So we've had a lot of outreach, and we're trying to let people know just why Texas agriculture matters, because we touch your life more times in one day than probably any other agency.
Well, I think we have a little sneak peek, so let's take a look.
All right. Neighbors, every once in a while, God just sends us someone special. I can think of Christopher Wren, the great architect that built all the great cathedrals, St. Paul's Cathedral, people like Mark Twain, Thomas Edison, Benjamin Franklin. Well, God decided Texas needed someone special like that, and he sent us this guy. And I'm honored to have Red Stegall here with us to kick off our very first show on RFD TV.
An army travels on its stomach.
That's right.
And if you don't have the food supply for that army is not efficient, because we all got to eat.
That's true.
And I want to say something. You have this on the wall down in Austin at your office.
That's right, I do.
William Jennings Bryan said in 1879, I think it was, or 1887 or somewhere. It was
a long time ago, wasn't it?
Way back there. When he said, burn your cities and save your farms and ranches, and your cities will grow back as if by magic. But burn your farms and ranches, and grass will grow in the streets of every city in America. Okay. I believe that with all my heart.
I do too. And most importantly, I want to say thanks to the farmers and ranchers who work from sunrise to sunset, Red, and this keeps our rural heritage alive. Finally, I'd like to leave you with a little cowboy logic. Sometime in your life, we always need a good doctor. Most of us have a pastor, a priest, or rabbi that we can confide in. I'll admit it, I've got a couple of good lawyers in my contact list, Red. But here's what I want everybody to think about. Every day, for the rest of your life, 3 times a day, you're going to need a farmer.
That was kind of a fun segment to film. And like I said, the viewers won't get to see that till 2020 of January. But Red Stegall, such a pillar in our community and in our industry and the state of Texas and all over, kind of.
Oh, he is. He embodies everything that's Texas, and he's actually preserving our rural heritage here in the state and actually across the nation. He's a much bigger figure than just a Texan.
Yeah.
He's loved worldwide. He's spoken at the White House and around the globe, and he volunteers his time and comes to our Family Land Heritage Program, where we honor those families that have been farming and ranching the same land for 100 years, 150 years. So he's a part of that. He gives back to the community. He's a songwriter and poet and actor, and has his own TV show here on RFD TV, and he's the poet laureate of Texas. A lot of people don't know that, but we have honored him.
Yeah, he definitely is, and his program that you mentioned, Somewhere West of Wall Street, is great. And provides such wonderful history of the state of Texas, but you said he is known worldwide and people just really love him. Speaking of Red being one of the subjects that you are going to, cover and talk with him about different things across the state of Texas, what are other subjects that you look forward to covering?
Well, we're not going to run out of agriculture subjects in this state, but some things that come to mind, we've got a new industry that we're ushering in, and it's called hemp. So we're going to discuss that and try to educate people on that. We have a very fast and very wonderful industry in the wine industry here in Texas. So we'll talk about some of our fine Texas wines and our wineries and how that all came about. We've got so many things to talk about. Rodeo is part of our heritage here and our Western lifestyle. So we're going to interview that and kind of relate how that helped build our image here in Texas. And I like to call it the greatest show on dirt. It's all about hooves, hair, hide, and horns, and having a good time. And you'll not go to any other sporting event where you'll see any more patriotism than you will at a rodeo. And if you want to see a good one, come to the American. It's sponsored by RFD TV.
That's right.
The world's now 2-day richest rodeo. It's fabulous. I love that rodeo.
Well, you have such a passion, not only obviously for agriculture and livestock, but you take pride and part in raising horses yourself.
I do. I raise American quarter horses. I have 3 stallions and some brood mares, and I like to raise colts and train them, myself, and put them under some good cowboys, and I actually like to, show them at the quarter horse shows and in the paint shows.
So there's a lot that goes into it. Just another thing that people might not know about the commissioner, but going back to the Texas Agriculture Matters show, if there's any topics or anything that viewers want to know or discuss with you or want to see on the show, we look forward to having them reaching out, and they can reach out via the social media handles using the hashtag Texas Agriculture Matters. We really do look forward to that show.
We're going to have a really good time with it, and people will get a little more in-depth taste of Texas, as they say.
That's exactly right. And like you said, they're going to touch on several different topics across the state of Texas because there's plenty of things you can discuss.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, we have to pause for a quick break, but stay with us because we're coming up next and we're going to talk about the Go Texan program and the ways agritourism is helping farmers and ranchers here in the Lone Star State. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to Rural America Live with the Texas Commissioner of Agriculture, Sid Miller, as well as we have 2 guests joining us now. We have Michelle Bernard and Barbara Hodge, who are both business owners here in Texas. Thanks for joining us. Tell us a little bit about your companies. I'm going to have you go first, Barbara, and then we'll go to you, and you guys just tell us about your companies.
Absolutely. Delighted to. We actually celebrated our 40th birthday in August of this year. My father was Dean Alexander. My mother is Nan. My father was a fighter pilot in the Air Force, retired after a 20-some-year career. And at that point, you guys may realize that you're only like 45 years old. So he needed something to do, and he wanted to work with his family. He bought a shop in a mall, and eventually, as time went on, he owned 5 shops. Then he and a local teacher in San Antonio, put their heads together and decided to create this idea of popcorn as a fundraiser. Okay. That's what he did for the next 30 or 20 years. And as he got older and older, he began to close down the shops and focus on the fundraising business. At 72, in 2005, the second generation took over. There are 5 siblings that own the company today. We brought in energy, we brought in enthusiasm and excitement, and came with a benefit of a going concern. So we had the opportunity to take it even bigger. Wow. And brought it to the rest of the nation. And then, of course, the rest has to do with getting involved with Go Texan and HEB, and we have a whole new world that we're looking at right now.
Right.
So.
Sounds like a wonderful thing that you have going. Michelle, tell us a little bit about you.
Yes, well, we haven't been around quite that long. We're Bernard's Gourmet Foods, and we are from McKinney, Texas, which is 30 miles north of Dallas. We make gourmet roasted salsas using my husband David's recipes that he's perfected over a lifetime, and decided to start selling it about 3 years ago at our local McKinney Farmers Market on Saturday mornings. And then, like Barbara, we decided to enter that HEB Quest for Texas contest. And so now you can find us still at Farmers Market, but also in about 198 H-E-B stores in 91 Texas cities. So.
Commissioner, hearing these stories right now, it has to bring some joy to you, especially with this Go Texan program and the initiatives that you've put in place to make this all possible. Let's discuss that.
You know, this is what makes my job so fun. You know, seeing these successful businesses thrive in Texas, and you know, the Go Texan program is obviously they're pleased to be that, and you know, we've tried to revitalize the Go Texan program. When I took over, we only had about 600 members probably. I think we're up to 1,700, maybe a little over, and it continues to grow. But you know, we go out and we're a resource, and you know, these already established. Absolutely. One that wasn't established, we can help all aspects of it. But you know, if you've got a husband and wife that retired and they're making beef jerky or salsa, and they can join our program for just a nominal fee, and then all of a sudden we're their marketing team. We say, all right, come on, there's this contest over here called Quest for the Best. You should enter it, and let's get you in Kroger's and H-E-B, and let me show you. Would you like to be on Amazon? We'll show you how to do that. So it's a real good partnership for us, and it helps in the end. It helps our farmers and ranchers move their product, right? Because this is all made, with Texas products.
That's right.
And just as you mentioned, go in depth a little more on how this does benefit Texas agriculture, because you guys are probably seeing the benefits on your end, but the commissioner really does feel this is beneficial as well.
Yeah.
Us, oh my gosh, what you guys have been for us is just everything that you said, the opportunities that are in that magazine, the opportunities that you guys reach out to us with, we take advantage of those. I would encourage anyone who was thinking, it is just as you said, an incredibly, it's a nominal fee for the benefit that you get. We entered the contest on a whim, and I've got to tell you, it has changed the direction
of your company.
Yeah, it has a new market that is just so exciting. Every day.
And literally, we are that mom and pop that retired and decided to make salsa. And, through our Go Texan membership, that allows us to take advantage of the wonderful events that you guys put on. I mean, we were at Rodeo Austin. We just spent some time at the State Fair of Texas. And that puts us in contact with like thousands of people, not only from Texas, but from all over the United States and Mexico, who have the opportunity to have a taste of Texas. And, for a mom and pop like us, I mean, I can't see that happening any other way.
The other thing I think that it does is it helped teach us pride in Texas. When we were looking at going at this new market before we were with Go Texan, we were trying to be politically correct and worrying about whether the rest of the country would be interested in our products. And once we went with the Go Texan, we realized there is no need to apologize for being from Texas.
No.
It is something to actually showcase.
Yeah.
And so that's in fact what we did. We changed the approach with our flavors, and we went, this is what we're going to talk about. We developed the Texas collection.
Barbara, one thing we haven't talked about, Kirby, is the opportunities we give these Go Texan members to showcase their products, do product tastings. We have, 20,000 square foot at the State Fair, which wrapped up, and then the Houston Livestock Show, and we're all of the livestock shows where they actually set up and say, hey, try my salsa, and they get it out in the public. But it's even more than that. And if they want to sell internationally, they want to sell into foreign markets. We have a preferred exporter. It's kind of hard for a small company to sell a whole container load of salsa and put it on a ship. I mean, it's just that. But we have a preferred export company called McLean Global, and if you want them to rep their product, they may sell 10 cases for you, and they may sell another 20 cases of popcorn, and they put that all together. So now we have a vehicle for the smaller companies or the ones that are just getting into exporting, a vehicle where they can get started, and hopefully they outgrow that company and they're selling full containers, 40,000 pounds of their product at a time. So we reach out and do a lot of things unconventional. We actually are part of a NASCAR. We have a NASCAR racing team. If your market is the NASCAR folks, you can buy a spot on the Go Texan truck, and we just have a lot of fun with it.
Well, earlier in the show, we discussed the new show that's coming out, Texas Agriculture Matters, and the commissioner feels it's so important to highlight people a part of this program. Commissioner, why do you think it is so important to get the word out there and highlight people with their businesses in the Go Texan program?
Well, obviously we want to grow the program, but more important than that, we want people, our members, to be successful. So we partner with them, and we can be an asset for them. We have 20 years experience in the Go Texan program. It's been around a while. I didn't invent it. Now we added the international marketing. We didn't have that, which has been very, very successful. So.
Where can people go to find Go Texan products?
Well, just go to our website, gotexan.org. It's very easy to find. We'll sign you up on the Go Texan e-zine. We have an electronic magazine that we send out and showcasing our members and some of the products, and kind of let you know maybe some wine events that are coming up, or we're preparing wine and shrimp, or we've got a festival maybe in your part of the state that you want to go down and pick up some of the Go Texan products.
One thing I've also noticed, though, it's not just limited to Texas. It kind of expands as well, just the different products that you guys are promoting.
Sure, and I guess I probably ought to clarify, we have gone beyond agriculture products. We have affiliate members. We have an aerospace company that'll send your satellite up into outer space with a Go Texan logo on it. We have Gulf States Toyota. We have an amusement company that Ferris wheels and roller coasters and it seems like everybody likes to be associated with the Go Texan logo.
That's right. Another thing is the HEB's quest for the Texas best. You both just kind of mentioned that. You did too. Tell us all about that.
Well, it's an in-store contest where they like to have new product, and be on the cutting edge of whatever's new, and they want to be the first to market with these new outstanding products. So they came up with the way, they said, well, let's just have a contest and see who's the best. So they did that, and they started that 6 years ago. So I don't know, I think they had how many entries they have this time? 90-something entries, or
more, no, I think
was it more?
Hundreds.
I was going to say 2,200 products, not that many companies.
2,200 products,
Yeah,
and here's the top tier right here.
Yeah.
So theirs is really, really good.
We had mentioned earlier the State Fair of Texas and the pavilion, that it provided the opportunity to showcase the products as well. I mean, what was that experience like?
You know how much fun it is to get a phone call from somebody oh my God, I see your product in the store. It's that the number of people who go to the State Fair, what is it, 11,000 or more? I'm sorry, 2.5 million.
2.5 million.
Sorry,
You're off a little bit.
2.5 million, sorry. But to have a lot of your friends call and say, I see your product in the store. And then to have people call into our company that have never even heard of us and got to see us at in the Texas Go Texas
Want your
Pavilion.
product. Place an order.
That's right.
Definitely. And what other opportunities does HEB's Quest for the Best provide for the participants?
Well, we open markets for them. We train them and how to market. We have people available that can help them set up and go to events in their community, or they can travel around state. I can take them on foreign trips. I have a program where we'll pay half of their bill if they want to go exhibit at a foreign fancy food show or a foreign market like that. We just I guess got back from one in India. Where we took some Go Texan members over there and helped them launch the products. So there's a lot of opportunity. Just whatever they can dream up, we'll try to partner with them on it.
One thing we like to discuss is connecting people and educating them to farmers and ranchers. I know that's a big thing for the commissioner, and so agritourism is such a large thing as well. Talk about the benefits and the importance of that.
Agritourism is sometimes the only net income we have on a farm. We have some pretty rough years, but things like, if it has fins, feather, fur on it, we can make some money off of it, right? But it's not just hunting and fishing on our agritourism, but we have the largest birding destination is on our Texas coast, where people come in and particularly like to watch the whooping cranes that have been on the endangered list for a long time. But it's also, we have 9 wine trails in Texas where you can go and spend a weekend and visit a dozen wineries and do tastings. And so the agritourism is very vast in Texas.
And like I said, you see such a benefit in connecting and educating people as producers yourself of products. Now, what is it that you find neat when you're, say, at the state fair and you kind of connect with those individuals who are coming and purchasing your product? I mean, what kind of warmth does that give you?
Oh gosh, I mean, wouldn't you agree? That's it's
There's no better feeling. There is no
Exciting.
better, yes, it's super exciting. I know last year was our first state fair, and we had just been named a finalist in the HEB Quest. And so this year, fast forward 1 year, it has been quite a thrill ride. I mean, that is an understatement.
Yeah.
It was so humbling to have people come up to us and like, oh my goodness, I've tried your product in Houston. Look, I buy this one, I buy that one. And I mean, it just really is there's not another gratifying feeling that I could actually
We get a whole new set of
express.
friends when we meet each other, too.
We
get
do,
to see
yes.
each other. We know the products are good. It's fun to try them in the stores. And you find yourselves telling the people that you meet about each other.
Yes.
And sort of sharing that success and the fun and the joy that we have had the blessing to.
Yes. It's like finding out that you have friends and family members all over Texas that you did not know you had, who are just there to lift you up and support you and
They're excited for you.
Be your biggest cheerleader, and you get to do the same for them.
Yeah.
Which is interesting to hear because Texas is such a big state. So
Yes.
meeting all
Amen
these
to
people
that.
and connecting to all these people is actually really, really important. Like I said, and I speak on behalf of the commissioner, but he has put all these initiatives in place so people can connect to the different products across the state. And that's really an amazing thing.
Kirby, I like to tell everybody, the only thing better than a label that says "Made in the USA" is "Made in Texas." Right? And that Go Texan
Amen.
emblem stuck on it. I mean,
That's right.
that makes it double special. It's a USA and it's Texas. It doesn't
right.
it doesn't get any better
Exactly
than
right.
that. At least I might be a little biased. But
Hey,
Well-
we put that right on the front of our bags. Wherever
We do
that's
too.
sold,
We
they're
do
gonna-
too.
They're going to know where it was born.
Have you been able to connect with some of those younger generations when they've come and approached you about what your product is?
Absolutely. I think it's not only that we've been able to connect with the young people out there and seeing this, but I think the fact that we bring them, in my business, we bring them into our factory. I think we've generated excitement in all of the generations that work for us. Some of them may grow up or go away and have businesses of their own. And I think they've watched us go. Well, we're small, we're family, so it's not a big corporation. And I think that brings it close to them. It makes them feel like, oh, well, I could do this too, because this small family in this small town is doing this.
And for us, we have 3 sons who are 25 to 35 years old, and they're part of the business. And so
Good point.
also salsa.
My son is,
Yeah, also
Yeah.
salsa. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I think we put salsa in our baby bottles here in Texas. And so
I
we
believe that,
have a product that
Yeah.
is popular amongst all. But in North Texas, in McKinney in particular, we have quite a few young farmers who are doing some phenomenal work now,
Yes.
connecting the farms, shining a bright light, and connecting with chefs and whatnot in our area. And so that's exciting to see.
Michelle, just for clarification, I like my hot sauce really, really hot.
Well, good thing, because I brought you some.
Okay,
so.
good. And I like to say you can't make hot sauce too hot. Some men are just too weak. You can't make the hot sauce too hot.
Okay, and I believe you. But I will, truth, I'm the reason we have a medium hot sauce. So, for those of you who can't take it quite that hot, thank you. You're welcome.
Well, going on something that you just said, if you could go a little further into that, connecting kind of the public
Yes.
in whatever regard that is to your product, that's such a big deal. And that's really where our society is going these days. They want to know where their food comes from, and they want to know who's providing it and what all goes into that. That's a big deal.
It's a really big deal. We noticed that the first thing that people do when they pick up a jar of our salsa is they look at the label. And, we're proud to say we don't put anything in there that Mother Nature hasn't already put in. And the other thing that we do, David and I say our vocation and our avocation is basically the same thing, and that's to nourish others. And so we share recipes on the side of our jars. So, it's basically from our kitchen to yours. And then in turn, people are super happy to share the recipes that they come up with using our products. And so I can't think of a better way to connect than around a table, right?
Yeah, and connecting as well. I think that you guys have played a big role in social media. Is that correct?
Totally social media. That's been huge for us. I think the fact that we get to brag about being Go Texan, brag about the HEB Quest for Texas Best, but even just begin to show products. We put our story on the back of our bag, and we want people to get to know us, to feel
Yeah.
like they do know our family. The social media, I would say, has been probably the biggest thing for us in getting the word out worldwide or nationwide. Worldwide, really.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
And social
So-
media is a way that people, like you said, they connect with the product and the person.
Yes.
They really truly feel by looking at pictures, whether they're personal or professional, they get to know that person and they feel connected to them.
Very much so. So when we do little contests today, we had a big, everybody wear pink today, and we took pictures and we did a few of the boomerangs, things that are a lot of fun, and we posted on social media, and people recognize our employees, you know, they're
Yeah.
friends, and it just starts to expand.
Yeah, it gains a lot of traction.
It does.
Well, speaking of social media and all that goes into internet services, sometimes that's not provided everywhere, but rural broadband is a big thing for you, Commissioner.
It is, and we're getting better at it, but we're not where we need to be.
Yeah.
The USDA has just launched a program, some funding that's coming down. They've released the first tranche of that. So, you know, help's on the way. We're not there yet, but it's coming. They're going to work through mainly through our rural electric cooperatives, but in others too will have access to this. So hopefully soon it's coming near you.
Speaking of products, though, and this question is for the Commissioner, I know hemp is now something that you guys have here in the
Yeah.
state. Go into that a little bit.
Well, we haven't grown hemp since the 1940s, and we couldn't participate in the 2014 Farm Bill, which allowed research on it because it was still listed as a narcotic, but we've got that moved. We're moving ahead rapidly to bring the hemp industry into Texas. I jokingly say we're going to make Texas a hempire for hemp, you know. And we want our farmers to have another tool in the toolbox. Because quite frankly, the commodity prices have been kind of depressed for the last few years, and they need something they can make a profit on. And this is a profitable crop. So we're going to usher that in. We're going to work, but I don't just want the farmers to have opportunity. But I want to bring those jobs to rural Texas, from the processors, the manufacturers, you know, all of those people that are possible to be probably Go Texan members. There's so many products that can be made from them. So we're excited about this new opportunity for our agriculture producers in the state.
Is it a good alternative crop, would you say?
It is. It's an excellent rotational crop because it detoxifies the soil and takes all of the chemicals and everything out. There's usually a lot of residue left, so you return a lot of organic matter to the ground, and it makes a nice compost and adds nutrients. And then it adds another opportunity, for an economic opportunity for rural Texas. So we're excited about that.
You know, sometimes with new things that come about in any kind of business, is there, especially with this though, the hemp, is there any regulatory issues? Is there any issues that have come about that you guys have had to face so far?
Well, yeah, it's going to be highly regulated, not by the Department of Agriculture. We're going to run the program and we're going to oversee it, but we're waiting on the federal guidelines to come down from the USDA. But it's in the same family as marijuana. So, the hemp doesn't have the THC, and marijuana does. The THC, at least they tell me, I don't know, that's the stuff that makes you high, right? Yeah. So we'll have to monitor that and test it and make sure that, it doesn't go over the threshold and become marijuana. If it does, I'm going to have to go in and destroy the crop. And I do not look forward to the day that I've got to tell a farmer, hey, you're over the limit, and we're going to have to destroy your crop. That is not going to be a painful day for me. Yeah. So we're going to try to do our very best to educate the farmers, make sure we get high quality seed, make sure the strains are correct, that we don't bust that barrier and get them in trouble.
And industrial hemp, it can be used in a lot of small businesses, so we kind of see the benefits with that.
Yeah, and it's been around a long time. George Washington, our first president, he farmed hemp at Mount Vernon. They made canvas out of it and put sails on the ships and made rope for the ships and made tents for the Continental Army. So I mean, it's been around a while. It's a very versatile product. They say you can make over 2,000 products from it, building materials to clothing to CBD oil, which is kind of the rage now in the health field. So yeah, there's a lot of, and people are kind of wanting to get away from killing trees and all the plastics that are filling our landfill. This is, it's compostable and it doesn't harm the environment like a lot of the plastics and petroleum products that we're using today.
Stay with us. We have more Rural America Live with Texas Commissioner of Agriculture Sid Miller coming up. We're going to talk trade, policy, and more next on Rural America Live. Welcome back to Rural America Live. Thanks for being here with us tonight as we talk to Texas Commissioner of Agriculture Sid Miller. Thank you for being here, Commissioner. You know, one thing that's kind of a hot topic is trade. So let's go into that and tell us the current status of all of that.
Well, we've been struggling on trade of late. We've actually been in a trade war for 50 years, but we just never fought back, okay? But now we're fighting back, and we're getting some huge wins. You know, and this is great for our farmers. They've been taken care of. You know, they've got some subsidies to cover their shortfall, but farmers they really don't want subsidies. They want good markets, and that's what, you know, they're right there now. We've this close, you know, redoing the NAFTA agreement, which is a huge win for our farmers there. We're now going to get our wheat into Canada. We're going to get our dairy products into Canada. So a lot of wins there. We had some problems with our wine, so all those issues have been settled. So that's going to be great for us. And Texas, the new USMCA or the old NAFTA is real important, because just between the state of Texas and the state of Tamaulipas, you know, one day in Laredo, Texas, there's 14,000 trucks go back and forth across that border. You know, sometimes that's close to $500 million in trade in one day. So that's a big deal to Texas. So we're on top of that. We want to expand our international trade. So, you know, we've made a mistake letting China have, you know, 60% of some of our commodity markets. So we've been working real hard to spread that risk out and open new markets. So we were already doing that with my global outreach initiative, but we kind of stepped it up when the tariff crunch came with the tiff with China. Mm-hmm. So we've been on every continent on the globe, marketing Texas and Texas agriculture products. I recently returned from India, a very successful trip there. We spent 9 days there, took some producers with us. I was supposed to go to Vietnam, and the typhoon, you know, messed that trip up, so we'll have to reschedule that. But just those two countries, our exports to India are up 1,300%. To Vietnam are up 450%. But we were successful early on, before the tariff war, getting beef back into China. We resolved some issues on Texas pecans going to China. So we have those relationships, and we work at it really hard.
You know, going back, I do want to touch on the India subject here in a moment, but going back to Texas specifically, how have the latest rounds of negotiations kind of affected Texas in the trade? Well,
you know, it's obviously positive for us to come to an agreement on with you know, the biggest one lately is Japan, because they're going to buy a lot of beef from us. The very next week, when Trump returned from making the deal with Japan, my people were on the ground in Japan with the Texas cattlemen negotiating to get some of the Texas beef in there. So we don't wait long. We don't let the grass grow under our feet. We're very, very aggressive on our foreign investments and our foreign marketing. I am president of an association called Southern United States Trade Association. So through that, and through the Texas Department of Agriculture, and through the USDA, you know, we're leading trade opportunities around the globe. So we work real hard. We have programs where companies we can partner with them, and we'll cover half of their expenses going to these trade shows overseas, and we actually host a lot of inbound trade. You know, people coming in. I've hosted the Chinese, you know, at least a half a dozen times, and the people from Vietnam. We're working real close with Indonesia. It's going to be another good market for us. They're interested in buying a lot of Texas products, and we're going to let them, you know. So it's been good. It's something that, you know, previously the Texas Department of Agriculture didn't get that involved in, but we're in a global economy now. Yep. We can't just depend on our neighbors across the fence, you know, to trade with. So it is an international, you know, market. Mm-hmm. I serve on the Tri-National Agriculture Card. So next month I'll be going to Winnipeg, Canada, and we'll sit down with our neighbors from Mexico, our neighbors from Canada. Any difference we have, we'll work out. Anything that we can do to help each other in unison, we'll do that. And there's some issues that I'm sure will come up.
Yeah, you know, I'm a big proponent of the beef industry, and you just mentioned that a little bit earlier. There's a lot of cattle producers in the state of Texas, and there's some that go back and forth on the trade issue. So go in depth more on your stance on that and why it is important to kind of take note of the trade that's going on, especially with the cattle producers.
Well, let me just put it in perspective. So Texas is the largest cattle producing state. We have twice as many as number 2, okay? So if you took all the cattle in Texas and made them into quarter-pound hamburger patties and laid them end to end, they'd reach all the way around the earth 400 times. That's a hamburger superhighway around the globe, okay? So it's a big deal to Texas, the cattle industry is. So let's take China. Why is it important that we get Texas beef into China? Well, there's 1,400,000,000 people over there. If we can get them to eat 1 quarter-pound hamburger, that's 400 million pounds of beef. So it kind of puts it in perspective, doesn't it? Mm-hmm. So that's why we're hustling those markets. I must say, wasn't successful at all getting beef into India. Yeah. I actually learned out where the term "holy cow" comes from, but we were successful on some other markets getting into there. Yeah.
You know, speaking of India, go into depth more about that trip and kind of the accomplishments or just the eye-opening experiences you had there.
Well, we had never really targeted India for our markets, and it's paying off. I mentioned our exports are now up 1,300% to that country. They're going to pass China in population probably in the next couple of years. They already have 1,300,000,000 people. So they need our products. They can't grow out everything they need over there, and so we need to be part of that. You know, it's a democracy. It's a wonderful. You know, people are so nice and friendly, and we should be there. So that's why we're going over there and going after that market.
You know, you touched on this a little bit earlier, but international trade. But since becoming commissioner, that's been a top priority of yours. Why is that?
Well, you know,
like you said, yeah,
it
needs to be.
I soon discovered, and this wasn't but a couple of weeks that I'd been in office, but as I visited with foreign dignitaries and foreign producers and buyers, that hey, they love to do business with a Texan. You know, this hat and this West Texas accent, and it just opens up a lot of doors. So I said, hey, we're missing the boat here. So we launched our global outreach initiative almost immediately. And we, like in the first 12 months, like I said, we were on every continent on the globe marketing Texas. And it's not that hard. The hardest thing is you got to show up. If you don't show up, you're not going to get a deal.
That's exactly right. What are your thoughts on the United States, Mexico, Canada agreement versus North America free trade agreement?
Well, you know, I like to say at the Department of Agriculture, we don't pick winners and losers. We pick winners and more winners. So anything that helps us do that, we're for it. Mm-hmm. You know, we don't want to step backwards. We want to go forward. We want to expand our markets. Whether it be the Canadians or Mexico or South America, and that's actually been, Central and South America has been one of our best markets, especially for animal genetics. We send them a lot of bulls and breeding stock and semen and embryos, and like I said earlier, we actually have an office in Argentina now. So we work real hard to expand those markets and meet those needs. You have to identify the need and then supply that need, you know, at a reasonable price, and that's you got a deal. I mean, that's the basic three functions of any deal making.
What do you think one of the biggest misconceptions is with trade and farmers and producers across the country? You know,
that marketing overseas is hard. It's really not. It does take some time and effort, but you know, people can partner with us if, you know, we take the sorghum growers with us, we take the pecan growers with us, and you know, I can open doors with dignitaries that a farmer from West Texas may not be able to open. But you know, we can get in there, we can navigate and find out who the right people are to sit down with. So that's why it's important, I think, for these agriculture industries, these farmers, the ranchers, the agriculture manufacturers and processors, you know, to partner with us, because we have that ability to open those doors and make those things happen.
Yep. Well, you recently sat down with the U.S. Secretary of Agriculture, Sonny Perdue. We've got a quick interview of that. Okay.
Sonny, good to be with us. Thank you for joining us, Mr. Secretary.
Sid, I appreciate the opportunity. It's always good to have a conversation with you, and I'm glad you're doing this to get, again, more exposure, obviously, for U.S. agriculture, Texas agriculture, and all across the country.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule. We know that you travel a lot, and that's your management style. You like to get out with the farmers and ranchers and keep your pulse of agriculture. And I like to tell the people that I represent, I got all my good ideas from somebody else.
That's right.
That's where they come from. So why don't you just give us the overall view of the outlook for agriculture for the United States?
Well, it doesn't come as any secret to you. Agriculture is in a tough spot right now. We're in a kind of a rough patch, and for prices, which have been going down really since 2012 or 2013. A lot of people like to blame that all on the trade disruptions, but these prices have been going down. We're kind of victims of our own productivity, see it?
Yeah.
Our producers in the United States are so good at what they do, yields going up and production going up, but you know what? We are blessed to live in a country where we don't have to depend on any other country in the world for food. Think about that. At one point, we were dependent upon oil coming in. Just imagine the turmoil it would create if we were dependent on food to feed our own people. So therefore, we have to depend on exports across the world, and that's where the challenges have come in agriculture today.
And it's a constant challenge, but agriculture is used to adversity.
That's right.
We kind of live with adversity, constantly present. And talking about the commodities, talk a little bit about the long-range outlook on our trade negotiations and what you see down the road for agriculture.
Well, there's good news and there's not so good news, and there's undetermined news, really. This USMCA agreement that the President and Ambassador Lighthizer negotiated with Mexico is better chapter by chapter, verse by verse, line by line than the original NAFTA. We kind of took a gasp early on when the President was talking about withdrawing from NAFTA. It's important to Texas, it's important to the whole country regarding that, and agriculture has benefited from it. What he did was take the best of that and maybe the not so good in manufacturing has got a better deal economically for the United States in agriculture, manufacturing, health, labor, safety, all those issues is better. It modernizes it from an e-commerce perspective and a data perspective, as well as biotechnology. The big question mark, obviously, and the big elephant in the room is China. What's going to happen? Really, the ball's in their court, Sid. I mean, we'd love to do business with China, but we can't let China just build their economy on the backs of U.S. innovation and creativity, forced transfer of technology and those kind of things. They got to play fair, free, and reciprocal when it comes to trading. We'd love to have them as a customer. I don't think we ought to get dependent on them like we were at one time in that way, but we're trying to build markets all over the world.
So we've got a lot of positive things long range. We've got the USMCA. It's going to benefit our dairy farmers, our wheat farmers, our wine industry. And the long range with China, we shouldn't be so dependent on one nation. We need to spread that out, and this situation gives us a chance to do that, to broaden our customer base.
And that's what you all are doing today. I met with your regional group called SUSTA, which is a regional marketing group, and y'all are going all over the world with trade promotions, building up other markets. That's very important there. That's what I say, we got to make lemonade out of these lemons on trade disruption here, and let China know that we don't need to be dependent upon them. They can't hijack us or hold us hostage, maybe like they have in the past.
Well, trade is a big part of one of our things that we deal with in agriculture. Another big element that's always in question is Mother Nature, natural disasters, things like hurricanes, prevented planting, floods. Comment on the USDA's role in responding to disasters.
Well, you're real familiar with that. You remember the 17 hurricane that affected Texas and the devastation there. It was sad to see those bales of cotton out there in the field that had just watered come up over that way. But that's where USDA, through Congress, really employing our ability to reach out in the farm community, help restore them for those who've lost crops and livelihoods through no fault of their own. Obviously, crop insurance is a mainstay of the safety net. When things like hurricanes and tornadoes and floods come in where the farmers done everything they could, then that's when Congress has stepped in to allow us to help farmers be restored?
Well, of course, we've talked about the adversity of Mother Nature, trade. Of course, the third leg of the stool that farmers and ranchers always fight is labor. It's always a constant problem for us. It's hadn't gotten any better. It gets a little worse. So if you would comment on guest worker program, labor relations, because it doesn't matter where I'm at in the United States. If it's an apple grower in upstate New York or a dairy farmer, in Texas, or somebody growing peaches in Georgia, the common denominator is we can't get enough help.
Labor.
We're automating everything we possibly can.
Yeah.
So it is a problem for agriculture, is it not?
Well, you know better than I do. We can't find enough domestic workers that want to work in the field of agriculture today, and that's a sad state of affairs. We have to have a legal guest worker program. I want to make sure, Steve, Sid, we talk about that in a differentiation from a legal immigration program. These are not people coming to their country to be immigrants, to become citizens. They're coming to provide for their families through the economy of this country, and what we can pay those people much more than they can make in their own country for a period of time. If they had an ability to come and go freely, if we could identify who they were and where they're going to be, check them in and check them out, I don't believe the people who are against illegal immigration would mind them coming and providing a great service. These people are not being exploited. We literally cannot find enough farm workers today to harvest our crops, to plant our crops, and you've heard it said before, we are either going to, in the future, import our labor or import our food.
One of the two. Well, and then wrapping up, Mr. Secretary, we all probably have a good family doctor that we can depend on. That's important. Most of us have a priest or a pastor or rabbi that we can confide in. I don't know about you, but I've got a couple of good lawyers in my contact list. But what I'd like to remind everybody today is, every day for the rest of your life, 3 times a day, you're going to need a farmer. God bless you, Mr. Secretary.
Thank you,
Thanks
Sid.
for what
Thank
you
you,
do.
Mr. Thank you,
We
sir.
appreciate you.
Thank you very much.
What a great interview. What was the importance? And just share with us some thoughts on that sit-down interview with Sonny.
First of all, it's nice to have a cabinet member, Secretary of Agriculture, that you can just sit down and have that casual conversation with. He's very approachable. We deal a lot with USDA. We run a lot of their programs for them here in Texas, and it helps that there's 5 former agriculture commissioners or secretaries that are working under Sonny Perdue, whose background is agriculture himself. He's a veterinarian and owns a couple of agriculture export companies and former governor, so they get it, and that helps when you have people in office that get it and they understand you, and they understand when you ask them a question, they know exactly what you're talking about. So that's refreshing. It's not always that way with government officials, So, but he's doing a very good job, and it's a pleasure to be around and very easy to speak to.
Well, we had a great time sitting down tonight and speaking about a lot of different issues. I know there's probably a lot more we could touch on, but we are out of time. Don't forget the Commissioner's new show, Texas Agriculture Matters, which will premiere in January right here on RFD TV. You can learn more about the role of agriculture in our daily lives, from ag policy to local Texas products, Western heritage, and rural lifestyle. And if there's a topic you want to hear about, let them know on social media using the hashtag #TexasAgricultureMatters. Thanks for joining us on Rural America Live. Good night from Rural America's most important network.